How you doing? This is the guy from Pittsburgh. No music because it's a big hassle to use these headphones. I can't play my music for some reason while I'm doing the headphones. And here's my Heinz 50 steak, 7 steak sauce guy. Always looking for stuff relating to Pittsburgh and things Pittsburgh. And I picked up one book I already had. I'm going to be doing a video on this book. Oh my God, the cover bent. Fell down on the floor earlier. Doomsday Prophecies, Armageddon from A to Z. I'm doing a video on that soon. And I picked up another book yesterday for $2, which is a hell of a deal. Dimensions by Jacques Vallée, a casebook of alien contact. It's about abductions. He thinks Fatima and Bernadette were both alien contact things. He talks about Mothman, the 1897 airship sightings all over the country and other things. So I'm going to do a video on that too. And there's a few things I want to talk about before I get to the news section. On my board, some scummy troll from the other board whose name will not be mentioned here signed up for my board using somebody other's handle from that board, and that particular person's extremely upset over it, and wrote one of the people on my board that they were sorry but it wasn't them, and they're really mad that someone would be so low as to use their handle. Now, we already saw that tactic used on Chris's the other board sucks, and I don't think the other board sucks. I do have a philosophical disagreement with the way things were handled referring to me on that board, but I'm going to do 2 videos referring to that to make a point in the next 30 days. That will not have any news, not have any Noory news or anything like that. And then I will be done with that board and won't bring it up anymore. And speaking of Noory, on my board I found a YouTube video that's very funny. I call it The Worst of Noory. And it's in the George Noory thread. So if you're interested, go take a look. I know people from the other board are lurking because I'm seeing 25, 30, 40, 50 views on my board every day. So people are looking to see what I'm doing, even though some of the people from that board are not posting. One of them is. And I don't care if they come over per se or if they post. It would be nice. Anybody from that board who wants to abide by my rules and is not a troll or a stalker is more than welcome. And I'd love for them to post because this is the internet. It's a place to discuss things. It's a place for information. It's a place to have fun. And I'm not a narcissist like people accuse me of. There's an article I posted in Slate on there. Those people are the narcissists. They go, pay attention to me, and I want to make everybody miserable because I'm miserable. And I'm a low person who can't do anything but make other people feel bad. I'm not going to let these guys bother me anymore. It did. I'm going to ignore them and move on. I've got other things to do. So, I would, if I were them, I would look at that article. They're never going to admit to it. And other people could look at that article too. It's on my board. It's from Slate. And I'm going to move on. Now, in the next week, I'll be paying for more storage space on my podcast site. I don't know why some of my podcasts are taking forever or not uploading to iTunes. That's bothering me. And I'm probably going to have to switch sites because those guys are housed in France, and when I went to comment, their rules are written in French, and the guy who created the board is French, and he said not in English. I'm going, how hard would this be to translate this page from Google and put it in English? But at first, that was the first place I saw. And my other site, Blog Talk Radio, my radio show will be on next week, Saturday, March 1st, 8 o'clock. I'm almost tempted, although it would be mean-spirited of me, to start it at 10 o'clock at night when Noory goes on. But it will be on once a week. And when I pay the fee to go premium on that, I'll be able to take Skype calls, take Skype video calls, and record the entire show. And it will run for an hour. And the first episode will be on disclosure and Bigfoot. And little Chris of the former site, he's big into Bigfoot. And so I'll be talking about that for him and for other reasons. And if any of the evil ones call me, well, I'll just dump them off the air real quick. And once I figure the weather gets better back east, I'm going to work to getting paranormal personalities on my radio show and interviewing the Birnes, Richard Hoagland, and whomever else I can get. And by the way, that book by Jacques Vallée has a interesting foreword by Whitley Strieber. So I don't know what it costs on Amazon or eBay. I haven't looked yet, but the local library finally is getting occasionally some paranormal stuff, and so I go over there every day on my daily walk and take a look. All right, no music for the weird news, and it's not going to be all weird news. There are other things to be talked about, so here goes. In May, I'll start working to get a soundboard so that I can have music in my videos without, or I may just not use these headphones so I can have my music. And once it gets warmer here, it's 70 degrees today here in Martinez, not my name. And right now in my apartment it's 70 and I'm roasting. So, okay. This one amused me and it's all over the web. Groupon had a marketing promotion. Groupon celebrates President's Day by honoring Alexander Hamilton. They offered $10 off deals above 40, and we are looking for a way to make President's Day a little less boring. And a site said maybe Groupon should offer a deal for half-price history lessons because Hamilton was never president. He was murdered in a duel. Okay. Google has admitted, according to the New York Times, that Google Plus exists so the tech giant can garner information about its users and get a more complete picture of their tastes from marketers. Like they already don't know that with Gmail. They send emails and ads from every company under the sun, from fish oil people to vitamins to roofers. And again, the site that sends me emails says they already read our Gmails. What do they want our shoe size? Well, they probably know mine, 13.5 triple E. So, Bigfoot, I'm Bigfoot in a whole nother way. And by the way, those who make fun of my weight, I've lost 28.5 pounds. And my goal by summer, when it gets warmer and I'll be a little more able to get out, is to get down to 300 by, let's say, September, and then by the end of the year I want to try to get down to 260, which is where I was before I broke my kneecap 10 years ago. And I'm hoping by next summer to get down possibly to 200. The weight for my height and weight, I'm 6'2", is supposed to be 180. I don't know if I can go that far, but I was 220 when I was 32 and on Weight Watchers, and I'm going to try to get down to that weight. Okay. Secretary of State John Kerry gave a speech criticizing climate change deniers, saying climate change ranks among the world's most serious problems, such as disease outbreaks, poverty, terrorism, and the proliferation of weapons of mass destruction. and he called on all nations to respond to the greatest challenge of our generation. And the side I get emails from said, first Al Gore, now John Kerry. Is the climate change thing a requisite for guys who lose presidential elections? And I noticed something curious about that. People like Kerry and Al Gore never go to China and India and say, hey, you're polluting your countries. The prevailing winds head toward the United States. Why don't you clean up your act before you start complaining about global warming and man-made global warming? Okay. Recently in Roswell, their homes are buried under mountains of tumbleweeds. And so much of it had piled up that some of the buildings are almost completely buried. The streets are choked with mountainous drifts. It looked like that episode from The Outer Limits with the intelligent tumbleweeds. It's kind of creepy. And future high winds could see a fresh supply of tumbleweeds arriving in the town in the near future. And I haven't figured out what the purpose of tumbleweeds is unless it's to spread more tumbleweeds, because they seem to be like a useless plant. They're dry and they just bounce along through the desert. The Marine Corps should know better. They've moved military newspapers like Army Times, the Marine Corps Times, and other papers to the back of the store. And national and local papers also from racks and bins near the checkout aisles. The Corps says the effort to professionalize store entrances, and observers were questioning whether there was another motive involved. We're surprised and disappointed, to say the least, as many of our readers. Andrew de Grandpré, managing editor of Marine Corps Times, said in an email, we don't know why the Marine Corps took this step. No one will give us a straight answer. We've been told it's everything from the need to professionalize the front of the exchange stores to make room for the Commandant's reading list. We've been rebuffed for weeks to speak with someone to give us an answer. And the Marine Corps Times is published by Gannett, and there are other places like the Army Times, Defense Times, that are also published. Somebody at my post office box throws those away in the recycling bin, and I read them when they're piled up. And Leo Cruz, who says on Twitter he's a Navy veteran of Operation Iraqi Freedom, says freedom of the press should not be left outside of U.S. Marine Corps bases. And of course, Obama has been talking about closing the commissaries, and for all I know, the next thing will be closing the post and base exchanges. And I don't know if I brought this one up or not, but it's still worthy of comment. Preacher J.B. Coote, star of Snake Salvation, died from a snake bite. And these guys who do religious ceremonies that poison the snakes, well, that's another Darwin Award candidate, because anybody who screws around poisonous snakes to do videos is a complete fool. Okay, let's see here. Okay, we know what that is. Let's get rid of that. And Noory is safe tonight, or safer. The site that sent me news. Could there be a clown shortage on the horizon? According to the Daily News, the number of clowns has plummeted in the past decade as younger people are less interested in the profession. Well, clowns are creepy. And it's not like the olden days where you'd sign up for the Ringling Brothers Circus, go from town to town dressed as a clown. So, I don't know, maybe local clowns are being successful. And of course, we've seen clown molesters, clown terrorists, and God knows what else. So, clowns are on the wane. Jimmy Carter. You know, it's getting pretty bad when Jimmy Carter says you're bad. Asked how to evaluate President Obama's presidency so far, he's done the best he could under the circumstances. His major accomplishment was Obamacare, and the implementation of it now is questionable at best. Many consider Jimmy Carter to be one of the worst presidents we've ever had, citing high inflation rates, high interest rates, reputation as a poor foreign leader. Gas rationing that happened during the presidency, which required people to wait in long lines to get gas. And gas is going up to $4 now locally as we approach the summer gas season when it's still winter. So Carter may have been a scapegoat, this story says, for many problems that were already happening. Perhaps he fueled the flame. Not many people look at that period of history with kind regard. And this guy on the site that sends me news says this is exactly what's going to happen. We all look back at the time when Obama is president. As Carter said, his major accomplishment is Obamacare, in which I use the term accomplishment lightly. Obama has faced his entire presidency around getting that law going. Is so stubborn he's going to do anything to shove that stupid law down our throats, and I thoroughly agree with that comment. That law should be trashed. They start over, leave the parts that people like being able to have care if you were denied for pre-existing conditions, but the stuff where you'd get a $3,000 refund, you'd keep your own doctor, we'd already seen what a bald-faced lie that was. And people like Nancy Pelosi now are thinking about retiring because they know that they're going to be under the radar in the congressional election come fall. I like this Twitter post by Steve Oh Hell No, great handle. People who go to the store and buy the single roll of toilet paper must not have an optimistic view of their life expectancy. So that's also reminds you of those people who use one square of toilet paper. Meanwhile, in a succession of meddling mayors who meddle into everything they can think of New York, Mayor Bill de Blasio, I'm going to start calling him Bill de Blase, announced a plan to rig taxi cab meters to turn off when the driver goes over the speed limit. He also wants to install black box data recorders in all cabs and to increase penalties for unsafe drivers. Now, why does he need black box data recorders in cabs? Are you going to be monitored now, or is he mad because he couldn't answer the questions on Cash Cab? Okay, there's some things out there with the police, new equipment. There's a thing called the Range R system, can detect bodies and movement from behind walls. So there's a privacy issue there. Drones are appearing everywhere, local cities like Miami. The T-Hawk MAV, police can monitor public activities, trace speeding cars, and more. So there's more surveillance of the American people. There is a good thing here, somewhat. There's a thing called the Thor emergency truck when a natural disaster occurs. One of the worst things to get power connections and access communications with the Thor trucks. Law enforcement has access to multiple connections, 2 floors of meeting space, and emergency needs, including power supplies. Of course, I don't know what you do when things flood, but, or an earthquake, but that's a good idea. Graffiti is going to be a problem for gang members. There's now cameras that are called graffiti cams, made specifically to detect graffiti artists. The cameras scan the images and blare out audible warnings to people trying to tag. No comment on how long until the cameras get graffitied, or in some cases we've seen that surveillance cameras have been stolen while they're being surveilled, being used to surveil an area, which always gets me. Siloam bomb training simulators. Law enforcement and soldiers can recreate the boom and sound of smoke that occurs when a bomb goes off. I wonder when a terrorist is going to build a fake simulator that's actually a bomb. In-dash cameras will provide police with crucial evidence of scenes. With the Axon Flex camera, attached to a shirt or worn as glasses. These cameras will provide police with coverage of any on-crime situation. So they'll have them pinned to their lapel or something and be able to watch you from anywhere. Now there's special speech text translators to provide audio of many common police phrases in multiple languages. You, the might remain silent, will now be heard in Spanish, Italian, and Chinese. No word on whether or not you can order Chinese food at the same time, which might be useful. Here's a good thing. The hammer spike window tool. Getting into a vehicle during an emergency is harder than you think. The hammer spike was invented. It can smash through a window within seconds, allowing officers to rescue those in need that may be trapped inside. And periodically, the AAA and AAA insurance will offer people devices where they can smash their way out with a little thing, with a spike thing. And if you get a chance to do that, yeah, go in there, give them your information. They'll run a thing on what your insurance will cost to give you one of those, and you should carry that in your car. You never know. You may be trapped by a tree. You may be trapped. In the South, people have driven their cars into creeks and drowned because they couldn't get out. So it's a good thing to have. Identity theft. You should shred documents that have personal information, bank statements, pre-approved credit offers, and shred stuff you think is sensitive. And I'm not plugging LifeLock, but they got a thing now. You sign up for 60 free days, they send you a free shredder. And I haven't looked at, but they've been running that commercial with Rudolph Giuliani on it, so you might look into that. Don't carry PIN numbers with you, account numbers, passwords. Identity theft can steal your wallet, know almost everything about you. The same thing about your Social Security number. Don't give that out. Okay, let's go to, let's see. Check your bank accounts periodically for identity theft and your credit card accounts, because people will put fake charges on your accounts. It had happened to me. Okay. Let's see. Police in Georgia say they're investigating a claim of responsibility for a heist of $2,000 worth of 2014 calendars, including many that featured scantily clad women from a kiosk in the Mall of Georgia in Beaufort. Whoever posted the account of the theft was involved in the crime. It's posted online at a site for Jesus followers who are also anarchists. Now, there's a thought for you. Operation Jesus. So, the posts include details how the crime was committed by a small team with designated roles as distracting the clerk and being a lookout for security. The 100 stolen calendars were replaced by signs. Women are people, not fantasies. And sorry, misogyny is out of stock. And by the way, Dan TXX and another board said I was a misogynist. I'm hardly misogynist. I like women. And besides, another thing, you can't say much about women nowadays because there is the internet. And if you say something wrong, it'll be all over the world in seconds. So Dan is very wrong. And I won't even comment on the other part of his comment that he made recently. It's too disgusting. I've always liked women, and I don't understand people who object to women being fantasies. Well, you meet someone, you date him, you're going to have fantasies about that woman, and the woman's going to have fantasies about you. Or she might be thinking about George Clooney instead of you. Who knows? Let's see. Okay. Now, this one is kind of what I find personally disgusting and disturbing. Last year, a 350-pound bear was found hiding in the crawl space of a New Jersey home, and the bear was terrified because there was a bear hunt. And state wildlife officials were called when an officer looked in the crawl space and saw the bear's head. And the bear was chased away. The bear was reluctant to leave and sleepy. And I would be scared and sleepy too if people went after me, because Hunter killed 251 bears during the hunt. Why are they killing the poor bears? What have the bears done to the people? I think that's horrible. You have a hunt for bears. So that really disturbed me. That many bears grew up as baby bears, and some jerk goes out where there were 22 and blows them away. Oliver Stone has been open about having voted for Obama, but he doesn't care for Obama lately. He spoke at a Washington D.C. panel discussion this weekend titled Imperial Overreach and the National Security State. He spoke out against Obama, calling him a weak man. Something happened because none of the things he promised, transparency, you got that right, a government that would reconsider the war on terror and these programs, the Patriot Act, got that right. None of that happened, none of it. The man stunned us with a lack of spine. He went on to further criticize the president for not keeping his campaign promises, and everything he backed down. I was stunned, said Stone. He's been vocal about his disappointment with Obama in the past. Most memorably, he told a discussion in Tokyo last year, he called Obama a snake. Well, I wouldn't call Obama a snake, but a liar when there's 500 or 1,000 lies on YouTube about things Obama has said, like you will keep your health care and you'll get a $3,000 refund. Yeah, I'd say he's a liar. Okay. Years ago, of course, you had Joe Camel and guys saying I'd walk a mile for a camel. Here's the reverse. The camel walks a mile. Give me a minute. I'm dripping here. Camel attacks man in Southern California in Palmdale. A camel escaped an enclosure in a high desert community, not Pahrump, stomped a 72-year-old man who tried to capture it and chased other people before it calmed down and was corralled. The camel escaped in the town of Acton, was reported chasing cars after 8:30 in the morning. Skylar Dawsonback told the local CBS station, my dad tried to catch it. It must have cornered him or something. It took off after him, bit him on the head, knocked him down, and stomped on him. Her father was hospitalized and needed stitches for a gash to his head. His name wasn't immediately released. Well, it must be Dawsonback, I would suppose. A neighbor came out, saw the commotion, got the camel away from him, and the camel actually started chasing him. They had to jump in the car, and the camel was running around after everybody. Dawsonback said she finally ended up capturing the camel. I put a halter on him. Now, do people carry around like camel halters? I mean, is that a thing you've got in Palmdale? There's like a box in every corner, in case of camel, break glass. Fed him a treat. He calmly walked down to my round pen, and I corralled him. The camel was seized by animal control because the owner does not have a permit because of the injury. The owner can be cited for endangering residents, so don't let your camel out. The camel and other animals, including a buffalo and an ostrich, escaped from the owner's property, which she described as a zoo. There have been 5 escapes in the last year. And Dawsonback said she believed no one lives in the property, but a caretaker comes by every day to feed and water the animals. That's better than some of those bums we've seen on Animal Planet who let their animals starve to death. So be careful of those wild camels in Palmdale. Okay, let's see. What else is here? Here's kind of a scary story, and I had that happen to me in a Lufthansa flight in Germany in 1962 from Frankfurt to Nuremberg. A United Airlines flight from Denver to Billings hit turbulence so severe that people were tossed in their seats on Monday. The 3 flight attendants and 2 passengers were injured. The pilot didn't make any announcement before the turbulence. Well, the problem with clear air turbulence or wind shear is you don't have any time to make an announcement. That stuff hits your plane and you're trying to desperately keep the thing in the air. The plane I was on when I was 10, going from the United States to Nuremberg, Our plane dropped 7,000 feet in the matter of seconds, and the pilot, the stewardesses, and all the passengers, they just given out fruit juice to everybody. Tomato juice, orange juice, apple juice, grape juice. And everybody was sick to their stomach and screaming and yelling and scared to death. And even the pilots were puking into bags. So that was the scariest flight I ever took. And I have no desire to have that happen again. There's a new watch, a novelty watch. This has a little gaming machine on your wrist, and it looks like a 70s arcade cabinet. Features a button that when pressed lights up the display and makes a pew 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 noise. Has a joystick. The joystick doesn't do anything. It tells the time. It costs $60. It isn't rechargeable. You have to break out a battery and stick it in there when it winds down. But this one site thought it was pretty cool, the arcade watch. So you might want to look out for that if you're so big into video games of the 70s. Antivirus software is seen as protecting your system from infection. Tests were carried out recently on 11 malware samples, including Trojans, worms, backdoors, ransomware, using Windows 7 Professional system. Each infection was loaded, the system rebooted, the antivirus product installed, updated, and put to work. The test awarded scores for each sample based on the effectiveness of removal and convenience of operation, whether a boot to safe mode or a rescue ditch was needed. And the best overall was Kaspersky with a total score of 98 points, followed closely by Bitdefender. Avira makes up the top three at 92. At the bottom of the table comes ThreatTrack, Viper with 65, GData, and BullGuard in the last, tied for second with 73. Microsoft Security Essentials scored 83, putting it in the lower half of the table. Not one of the products received a perfect score. Complete removal using only normal mode across all threats. Kaspersky came closest, removing 10 of the threats, but needing a rescue disk for the 11th. Other than the top three, all the products completely failed when it came to removing at least one of the samples. Ransomware proving the most difficult to get rid of. And you can download the report as a PDF from the AV-Comparatives website. I know one person, he got hacked when Google crashed and his computer got completely fried. Got hit with 3 viruses and 9,000 attempts to get in his computer. I got hit with viruses too at the same time. But my antivirus site managed to stop it, and I don't have a problem with that. So, okay, let's see what else is here. Now police can find random gunshots and where they're being shot with the shot spotter system. Using sound waves and advanced GPS, it can track a bullet and give cops a precise location. So I guess the thugs in Oakland, California, they won't be firing their guns in the air in the middle of the night. Because when I lived in Oakland, you could hear that stuff across the lake for all hours, day and night. Guns being fired. If you're carrying mysterious powders around that the cops suspect, police can now check it instantly with the Red X Defense XCAT substance tester. It tests all kinds of drugs and other things. Cops could make an arrest quickly with this tool. They're already stopping people and doing DNA tests in Southern California, which I don't know what that's got to do with your driving. But, and here is a thing about high-speed chases, the GPS dart. It launches off of a police cruiser, sticks to the car, and tracks its every move. Within minutes, the car can be trapped without the danger to the public. Well, I'll believe that when I see it. How many times have we seen those videos on YouTube, Fox, where they're chasing some guy with a stolen car for 30 and 40 miles in L.A.? Here's a thing called Throwbot for SWAT teams. Can be thrown to a building to scan the area, provide a video feed, and make it safer for SWAT teams to enter. So that's interesting, although that could be misused. All of these things could be misused to cause problems for civil liberties and privacy. Here's a new thing, the wasp gun. Instead of using tear gas on crowds, the wasp gun emits large beams of sound directly at protesters to confuse them and calm things down. And in the paper here locally, they were talking about blocking off abortion clinics from protesters. They think it could be an actual riot situation. So that's interesting. Here's a story. Anti-aging products are all over infomercials, but real scientists are working on ways to increase human life without plastic surgery. Starting with worms, their researchers allowed their life to be doubled. Once transferred to humans, you're looking at population increases and many problems. So I don't know what's going to happen with that one. This one gets me. Scientists have been working on ways to create edible packaging. This will reduce the amount of garbage in landfills, but require use to examine boxes and cases to make sure no one is taking a bite. So I guess when you get that fruit cake for Christmas from grandmother, you'll be able to eat the fruit cake and the box at the same time. Here's a new thing. I saw a picture of it. My first thought was, what if you get a high wind come up? Does a whole roller coaster go flying off and you head to Oz? Winged roller coasters. The picture looked interesting. They make you feel you're not even on the track, and it looked kind of scary. It looked kind of like a winged demon car or something. Okay. Google is developing a car that can drive itself based off advanced GPS systems, cameras, and sensors. And the commentary said that sometimes Google Maps could lead you straight off a cliff instead of right on Cliff Street. And we've already seen what Apple did with their maps, where they sent some guys onto our runway in Alaska. The speech jammer gun could be the ultimate prank tool and become a huge problem for public speakers, protests, and more. The device instantly records the speech and plays it back on a slight delay. This causes major confusion in the brain, and people cannot process their own thoughts. Well, I get confusion in the brain enough without a speech jammer, but that's kind of curious. MIT workers have discovered that pinging Wi-Fi signals can be used to detect movement between walls. Eventually, the technology will be used to show full X-ray vision, creating privacy issues for people. So now you can look in your neighbor's walls or look in the school gymnasium or God knows what. So no need for Clark Kent or Superman anymore. Okay. BCI machines allow people to control computers with their mind. The scary part is when the opposite starts happening. Computer viruses have done amazing things, and we know they will affect the brain. So I don't know how that's going to work, but it would be nice to just think to tell the computer, go to the latest Noory video or do whatever without having to type it in. Synthetic alcohol. Where's Quark and Quark's Bar when we need him? Will provide the buzz of real drinks without the hangover in the morning. People usually never know their limits. Who knows how it will be mixing regular alcohol and synthetic ones? Well, science fiction comes true. Synthahol. Don't know if it's going to taste like booze, but that's interesting. You'll be able to go to your location in less than an hour on tube trains, but it will tear up the environment to build them, and I don't know how that's going to work. We got this California rail project, the train to nowhere. They're spending billions on it and dumping more and more money down a rat hole bigger than Mel's hole. There are drones the size of airplanes, but soon there's the cyber bug. will have the ability to enter almost any location. The drone can record sounds, gather information, and create more privacy problems. And it's a little thing about the size of a mosquito. So that's going to be interesting. Okay, let's see what this one is here. I don't want to talk about that. Okay. Bear with me for a minute. And not weird news or anything, but I'm wondering about two movies, one in post-production and one coming up. The forthcoming Man from U.N.C.L.E. movie, which took 40 years to get close to hitting the screen. They spent $75 million producing this film, and the plot is CIA agent Napoleon Solo and KGB operative Ilya Kuryakin participate in a joint mission against a mysterious criminal organization which is working to proliferate nuclear weapons, and this is set in the early 60s. And from what I've seen with a lot of these remakes, they usually suck. From the A-Team to the Dukes of Hazzard, I'm hoping this works out, and I was kind of hoping maybe somewhere in the cast would be a cameo from Robert Vaughn and David McCallum, but who knows? There was talk of making Vaughn the head of U.N.C.L.E., and I think they should have done it. And speaking of Vaughn, I watched Season 3, Disc 1 of The Protectors, a show that Robert Vaughn did in the 70s, and on Wikipedia he said that he was doing the show and he had no idea what he was doing in this show because he was so confused about the plots and the scripts. A lot of them were weak, and I had to look on Wikipedia to find out what the Protectors were. Apparently they were a high-paid detective agency that fought criminals. And there's one episode that abused the hell out of me. This guy goes, "We're going to take down the entire Protectors organization." You had Robert Vaughn as the main guy with an apartment. And the interesting thing is, apartment, he had a young, comely Asian woman as his housekeeper. These huge consoles from the 70s as computer consoles that took up a huge amount of space in one desk, with the giant monitors, where they had to sign up for computer time, and they got 15 minutes at 11 o'clock. Remember those days? And Noory Dawn Porter had her own agency in Europe where she was tracking down art criminals. And I never did figure out what the guy Paul Descent, the Frenchman, did. Now, sadly, Noory Dawn Porter and the guy who played Paul Descent have both died. So Vaughn is a survivor. He's still alive and kicking. But I couldn't figure out what The Protectors was about either. I like the show. It's half-an-hour episodes, but it was very popular in England. Okay, let's see here. Nope, not going to do that one. Let me see what I can find. Carjacker got caught by being trapped in garage door. The carjacker was trapped when the victim closed her garage door. Andre Bacon, there's a Bacon story for you, was charged with felony attempted vehicle hijacking and theft in a failed carjacking. A Chicago woman thwarted the carjacking of her vehicle after she trapped an alleged carjacker inside by closing her garage door. He was charged with felony attempted vehicle hijacking and theft. Prosecutors said that he entered the victim's garage and demanded she hand over her keys. The victim surrendered her keys, fled the garage, closed the door behind her, and called police. Police arrived, opened the garage door, and found Bacon sitting in the driver's seat with the keys in the ignition. He was held on $75,000 bond. So there's a case of Bacon being trapped in a car. I love weird crime stories. Let's see. That's the thing about it. Albino alligators have a new home in Paris. Two incredibly rare albino alligators have arrived at their new French home, a Paris aquarium. after being bought from a reptile collector in Florida. The new reptiles are over 1 year old, are a part of an elite group of no more than 30 of such alligators in the world. Aquariums save the lives of these reptiles. They cannot survive in the wild. The recessive gene, their skin burns in the sun and attracts hungry predators. So it's not known how the two will act toward each other as they grow up. They can't tell yet if they're male or female. And where I live, I haven't seen it for a while. Don't know if it survived or not. We had an albino raccoon. I saw it was a little tiny baby, and then it got huge. And the raccoons here eat the cat food I feed my cats. And now Mama Cat and Kitten let me pet them all the time. So after 2 years, they finally are losing their fear of people, or at least of me. Let me look for another story here. Scientists were recently shocked when they found a half-inch long foreign object embedded within the skeleton of Napoleon. Napoleon had a story of abduction when he disappeared for several days in July 1794. Said he'd been held prisoner against his will by a strange group of men. Could Napoleon been a victim of the Men in Black? Who knows? But they found a microchip, it looks like, inside his skeleton. And I found some stuff here on one site, reasons why, proof of aliens visiting. So I'm going to just run these down. Aliens, extraterrestrials, spacemen, whatever you call them, sightings have been around since man first gazed into the skies. NASA. 3 days into Apollo 11, the crew reported a strange flying object not far from their location. They assumed it was a piece of their SIVB rocket, till they received word it was 6,000 miles away. To this day, the highly trained crew and NASA scientists have no official explanation. We do know that a lot of stuff they've seen had code words like there is a Santa Claus, and they would go to the secret NASA channel. Buzz Aldrin, astronaut, confessed to the sighting at one time. So there's one story. And let me look at others here. A team of British scientists sent a balloon into the outer reaches of the stratosphere, and they were baffled when it came back carrying tiny biological organisms. These organisms, which the balloon accidentally harvested in space, have the scientists convinced alien life exists, as they believe it can only have originated in space. Our galaxy, the Milky Way, measures up to 120,000 light years across and contains 400 billion stars. It's said that half the stars include at least one planet within their orbit. There's lots of planets and a good chance for alien life we haven't yet discovered. In 2001, scientists using the Drake theory determined that thousands of these planets host the ideal conditions to support life. So, see what happens there. Hold on. Move this stuff. Bear with me for a minute. Oh yeah, via trading on another site, I found have a bracelet for people to wear called Boobies Rule. Now, given feminism and women's thoughts on that, objecting to sexist comments, I don't know if anybody's going to buy one of those for $14.95. Via Trading is selling thousands of those for $140 or something. I don't know how well that's going to go over. It's supposed to be used to promote donations for breast cancer research, and I'm all for that. I've had members of my family die of cancer. But okay, to get back to my things here, here's another one. Egyptian hieroglyphs, we've seen that on Ancient Aliens, show what appear to be the images of a helicopter, submarine, boat, and a jet airplane. Many believe this is proof that aliens once visited the ancient Egyptians, arriving in their advanced technology craft and leaving behind an interesting story for ancestors to tell. So that's another one. The Battle of Los Angeles in World War II, February 24th. Hundreds of reports flooded the local LA Air Base claiming to have spotted the UFO. Worried about another Japanese airstrike, the sky was filled with searchlights that found the aircraft. Thousands of rounds were fired at this thing. Some claimed it had a shield around it and disappeared in the night, never to be seen again. And a number of people were killed by falling anti-aircraft shells. And the government has never said what that was, although news report said that it was Japanese aircraft when there were no Japanese aircraft anywhere around. Let's see, just a minute. Oops. Not about alien stuff, but this one's interesting too, and I hope they find a way to make this work because it would stop the hackers. An Israeli startup company claims its software will put an end to all viruses and malware, even anticipating attacks and blocking them before they're created. Viruses are copycats, said Liran Tankman, CEO and co-founder of the firm Cyactive. Creating new code for each piece of malware is expensive and impractical and nearly impossible. There's never been a documented attack that has not used at least one recycled component. Tankman said, who headed an elite military intelligence unit in Israel. And the Israelis have anti-hacker groups out there all the time. He told Fox News hackers modify the original code and then, voila, a new threat is born. We have the ability to see the future and prepare for it, he said. Not everyone is ready to jump on the bandwagon. Claims for a cure of all computer viruses are made all the time, said PC Magazine editor Neil Rubinking, a leading cybersecurity expert. This claim gets made year after year and again. A similar product called Prevex created a very nice behavior analysis tool some years ago, and Cyactive might be even simpler than that product. Cyactive just looking for reused code from known malware. I'd be interested to see if it holds up in testing by the independent labs, but looking at the claims, I see nothing new. But Tankman insists his software is innovative and will hold up to industry standards. The hack 1 million of target customers' credit card numbers where hackers used a remodeled version of malware called Black POS. Tankman claims the attacks would have been thwarted before it caused serious damage if target had been protected by Cyactive. When a threat is exposed, we predict the malware's evolution to protect an organization before the black hat hackers can even write it. We have the ability to see the future and prepare for it. You have today a lot of security companies are trying to build smarter detection systems. We give you smart rules, but those rules are not learned on the past, but they are learned on the future. Another where Cyactive is different from other virus protecting companies, it also protects the Internet of Things, a term coined by British technologist Kevin Ashton that refers to the growing trend of connecting all our devices to the Internet, from light bulbs to refrigerators and toothbrushes. Toothbrushes? Everything is web connected today. Why would you want your toothbrush hooked up to the Internet? The detectors we use are very lightweight, meaning we are not restricted to one kind of device. I still can't get that one. Are you going to have somebody see you brushing your teeth with your Colgate foaming up your mouth like a rabid dog? Why would you want to have someone see you brush your teeth? Unless it's Casio. He does weird stuff. Nice guy, but does some weird videos. I like his kitties, though. They're very cute. The detectors we use are very lightweight, meaning we are not restricted to one kind of device. Our security can be deployed on normal PCs as well as refrigerators to turbines and other critical devices. but even Psyactive is not completely safe from hackers. Wait a minute, I don't get this. Whole story is saying they do a great job. It'll be more difficult for hackers to overcome what they will, Tankman said. We'll continue to ask our smart algorithm to tell us ways in which hackers might fool our own detectors. That's how we maintain an advantage. We hope with our solution crime doesn't pay anymore. Well, if they're vulnerable, doesn't say that it didn't seem that their software doesn't make crime pay. Crime's still going to pay. I don't get that one at all. Oh, we got this thing, but it may not work all the time. Okay, here's the thing, and I hope this works because I'm still ticked off about not being able to play poker online. Predictious.com, that's Predictious, a new company from Ireland, offers a prediction market that allows people to bet on everything from the presidential election in the U.S. to the Olympics and the Oscars. All possible by bitcoins. Betting of this sort is a gray area in the U.S. where the Federal Commodity Futures Trading Commission decided in 2012 regulatory order not to allow prediction markets on the grounds they were contrary to the public interest. Well, who made them God? The CFTC recently sued the popular prediction market Intrade.com for operating without a license, which forced the site to shut down. Predictious, which started in July of last year, is the same model of Intrade, except that it accepts only bitcoins, allowing it to receive funds quickly from Americans despite regulations that forbid banks to transfer money to it. I bet on the Seahawks and won a very modest amount of Bitcoin, says El Dorado. Eli Dorado. Well, that sounds like a false handle anyway. A tech policy researcher at the Mercatus Center at George Mason University. The CFTC they're not sure if they're going to go after a site that uses Bitcoins. The spokesman for that group said there's no way he can answer that. It's too speculative. 3,000 people on Predictious are using Bitcoins to bet on everything from politics to entertainment. The site's bettors suggested the movie 12 Years a Slave has a 60% chance of winning Best Picture, that Republicans have a 50% chance of taking the Senate in November. Hillary Clinton has a 33% chance of becoming president in 2016. And the U.S. has 50% chance of winning the most medals at Sochi. The founder of the site, Flavian Charton, said they always wanted to create a prediction market, and Bitcoin solved the problem of transferring money. Some Americans are happy to have a place bet online. One, El Dorado, said, I use Predictious to bet on the Super Bowl. I bet on the Seahawks. Such markets would be good for society. So we'll see how that goes. Bitcoin predicting places. Maybe somebody will set up where you can play poker with Bitcoin and get around the Internet Gambling Act. Okay, let's see. What else is here? Let me see what this is. Comcast is doing sneakiness. They're charging monthly rental fees to people who already have their own modems, and the charges show up on bills. And subscribers ask why they're being charged. They say they're being audited and determined to still be renting Comcast-owned modems, and you have to keep banging away at Comcast for them to take off the bill. And Comcast Xfinity Home Wi-Fi hotspot service, the gimmick where Comcast modems and subscriber homes are used to create a second access point that can be used by any Comcast subscriber. It's not a public hotspot. It's for Comcast authorized users. Comcast allocates some of your bandwidth for that purpose. They claim it's managed to not slow you down, but they don't explain how. They claim it's a separate access point. You won't have the police break down your door and wrestle you in chains if some wacko sits outside your house in his car downloading child porn. They claim it doesn't count against your bandwidth caps. And the writer here, Lauren Weinstein, why would anybody want Comcast to attract random people to your residence to use your access link for Comcast benefit without paying you for the privilege is beyond me. But it's worse than that. If you have a Comcast-owned modem, you are opted into this system by default. You have to call them on the phone to opt out. Subscribers who own their own modems are aggressively called by Comcast with pitches to switch back to Comcast-owned modems for a better, faster modem experience. Lauren Weinstein says, all in all, sleazy indeed. And I get that all the time from AT&T and Comcast and Verizon to get services that I don't necessarily want. So I've gotten solicited to get Comcast internet. They charge too much. And let's see here. Here's another thing, the WOW signal from Ohio State, picked up years ago. It was named the WOW signal. Scientists wondered how a signal so strong could be sent away from the without the use of advanced technology, but they could never find the WOW signal again. But who knows if that was really sent or not. They consider Rendlesham Forest to be a significant UFO encounter, proof of alien visitation. And, well, I got to sort out the rest of these. Oh, here we go. Katy Perry, who I think has lost her mind. She's doing stuff with her dog, is an Egyptian dog, and she must think she's Nefertiti or something. She even had one where she was done up in Egyptian headdress, exposing her breast, and she's really doing some really whacked out stuff. Well, January 31st, she was the first person to reach 50 million Twitter followers. Justin Bieber was the first to get 40 million. What happened to that guy, you know? Barack Obama, 41 million. Lady Gaga, 41 million. YouTube 38.9, Taylor Swift 38.7, Britney Spears, haven't heard about her for a while, 38.7, Rihanna 33 million, Instagram 30 million, and Justin Timberlake 30.5 million. So Katy Perry is now number one. Funny you don't see any Miley Cyrus in any of that, and she's doing some whack stuff too. And in 2004, scientists examined a series of radio waves in space to discover that one signal in particular was getting stronger. They thought that could be a sign of alien life attempting to contact us, as radio waves are sent out to space from Earth in an attempt to reach life other than our own. Maybe they're finally calling back, the story said. Who knows? Okay, let's see. Researchers recently discovered a Martian rock in Antarctica that contained fossilized signs of nanobacteria. Now, there were pro and con on that, if it really came from Mars or not. So, I don't know what happened with that. I know Hoagland probably know. In 2004, free independent groups have reported massively high amounts of methane within the atmosphere of Mars, which normally wouldn't be interesting, except that nearly all methane on Earth is created by living organisms. I wonder if politicians create methane with their speeches. In 2010, the UN appointed Malaysian astrophysicist Mazlan Othman to head the UN Office for Outer Space Affairs, which deals with all space-related activities, including alien visitors. So I guess they got to show their UN passport now if they land and want to come to New York. In 2002, the Russian scientists discovered a microbe that could withstand an enormous amount of radiation without dying. Unheard of on Earth, This type of adaptation would take billions of years to develop, leading to the theory the microbe may have been originated on Mars. There's no telling if this microbe is now living in Fukushima or maybe Chernobyl. Who knows? And let's see, what's this? Cybersecurity news. There's a clip-on called a Quig light. Police can patrol at night and keep their hands free. The picture I saw was right next to the guy's badge. That might be useful for other things too. You clip that on, you work on your car, you need to find something you dropped in your apartment, your house keys. I'm going to look at the Quig light. Got a lot of stuff stacked up here, so please bear with me. Somebody tonight saw my screenshot and said, all this stuff there. I said, it goes away when I do my stories. It goes into the trash, and then I get rid of it. Now this was interesting. There was an image from a Soviet probe that was sent to Venus, claimed by Russian scientist Leonid Kazanfo Malidi to be a scorpion-like life form living on the surface of Venus. The only image sent back to Earth to show any anomaly, and the only one found since 1982. So are there scorpions on Venus? What does Richard Hoagland say about that one? Near collisions, and we're hearing more and more of those all the time, involving UFOs and commercial airlines, seems to be going higher and higher. Countless stories, including one by a veteran airline pilot and his first officer flying into Manchester Airport, who claimed to have seen a large delta-shaped object heading right for their position. Just as the highly trained pilots were about to take action to avoid the craft, it disappeared. Now, Don Keogh talked about that in his books multiple times, where airline pilots had to dive or climb to avoid UFOs hitting their craft and throwing passengers around, people getting injured, all that stuff. Now this one's interesting. From 2001, a study suggests that Jupiter's red moon, Europa, may be made up of frozen red bacteria. Bacteria are a sign of the beginning of advanced life forms when in space. So who knows what's on that moon? Wasn't cheese. Here's a story. 2 math majors at Reed College lost control of a giant snowball that rolled into a dorm, knocking in part of a bedroom wall. College spokesman Kevin Myers said it would cost $2,000 to $3,000 to repair the building. This thing, the picture on the site I saw, the thing is absolutely gigantic. It's the size of, like, I don't know how to describe it, like a huge beach ball. Maybe like the one from The Prisoner. It's that big. The incident happened last Saturday night following a rare trio of snowstorms in Portland. Students started building the giant snowball on a campus quad near the dorm. The math majors tried to make the snowball as big as they could by rolling it down the sidewalk that goes past the dorm. It got away from them. After escaping their control, the boulder-sized snowball rolled 15 yards before slamming into unit number 7. 3 students inside heard the smack and discovered the fractured bedroom wall. The student whose dorm was damaged has not yet had to move. Nobody weighed the snowball. The maintenance workers sliced it up. What's the pity? They should have froze that sucker and maybe waxed it and saved it for posterity. Estimated it weighed 800 pounds. The students responsible for it won't be disciplined. They said that the spokesman said they didn't intend to cause damage and felt awful about what happened. Reed magazine was the first to describe the snowball. So 800-pound snowball. And let me see. All cybersecurity stuff. Oh, here's a new one, and somebody I was talking to last night, and hello, everybody that knows me online likes me. He liked this idea, and I couldn't find the story, but here it is. Spray tans for one thing, and I want to get some of this stuff. Spray caffeine is coming out. People get quick energy boost, but other things like spray alcohol might follow. So you wouldn't have to drink the coffee anymore. Just spray it in your skin. I guess it'll get absorbed with something, and you can have that caffeine rush. You won't even have to go to Starbucks. Just spray it like that, and maybe they can combine that with deodorant, and you kill two birds with one stone. You'd have spray caffeine and deodorant at the same time. Let's see here. And here's a study from General Electric gas. The notion that emissions from shale gas development are much higher than those produced from vertical wells in conventional oil and gas reservoirs. Methane leaks render shale gas worse than coal, has been undermined by a new study based on measurements in hundreds of gas wells. The University of Texas study says this isn't the case. So I know the environmentalist nuts always bitch about anything we do to produce more energy for America. If they spend more time not worrying about that and worrying about bathing and not defecating on cars and stuff, they'd be much better off, I'm sure. And I like this one. I don't even remember where I found it. In its new Honestly commercial, Microsoft shows us a man who has just purchased a Surface 2. Now, I'm not sure what a Surface 2 is. This deal was way too good to believe, says the happy purchaser with a bag tucked under his arm. Instead of paying too much for an iPad, I got this Surface 2, he says, before telling the camera it comes with Office, a Surface commercial that mentions that. Amazing. And Outlook, free Skype calls to over 60 countries, and 200 gigabytes of cloud storage. Others charge for that. He's clearly happy with his purchase. And this correspondent says, I don't want to burst his bubble, I'm going to anyway. The line that annoys me is this: instead of paying too much for an iPad, I got this Surface 2. That's like saying instead of paying too much for a jacket, I bought a pair of trousers. The guy is an idiot. I'm not saying people who buy Surface 2 are idiots. They aren't. The Surface 2 is a great slate. The people who buy the Surface 2 have different needs from those who choose to buy an iPad. If what you require from devices, Office, Outlook, Skype, and cloud storage, you don't want an iPad in the first place, you want a laptop or a Windows tablet that you can use sometimes as a laptop. And on the other hand, you want a selection of apps that are second to none, including some of the best mobile games around, devices designed to be held rather than placed in a Surface, a brighter and sharper display, higher quality photos, and better performance. Get an iPad! I own an iPad and a Nexus 7. I use Windows 8.1. I download apps across all three operating systems. I can tell you, iOS is the best apps, hands down. Android selection isn't as good. I hate all the annoying adverts found in children's apps. I hate all the annoying adverts found on every game on my iPhone just about. They're constantly asking you to buy other games and stuff. Annoying as hell when I just want to play backgammon or hearts or spades. This guy says, it's still excellent. There's more crap to wade through now. The Windows apps are fine. If you don't know any better, you probably won't know what you're missing. And if you're the sort of person who thinks you've got a bargain by choosing Surface over iPad, you won't know any better anyway. And The choice between iPad and Surface, this guy said, should never come down to price. If what you want is an iPad, but what you buy is a Surface because it's cheaper, you'll only be disappointed and spend time regretting your purchase. If you want one device to work on with some occasional entertainment, then Surface will be a wide move to you. Productivity-wise, I can work faster on a Surface than an iPad. It'd be interesting for Apple to do a commercial comparing the two and see who's faster. I wonder if they've thought of that. If you think the iPad is overpriced, I do. But Apple products are always overpriced compared to everything else. You aren't shopping for a device to work on, you might pick up an affordable Android tablet instead. And do some research first. Oh yeah, use your 200 gigabyte of free Surface storage that others charge for. And this guy says, I'm sure you know after 2 years Microsoft will start charging for that, so I'm sure they will. Everybody's charging for storage nowadays. Well, I guess that's it. I got a bunch of side. Oh, wait a minute. Here's another story about the weather back east, and a new term that I'd never heard of. A fast-moving storm brought several inches of snow as well as rare thunder snow to parts of the East Coast Tuesday in the latest round of wintry weather to hit the area. The storm came days after the southeast and northeast were paralyzed with heavy snow, ice, and power outages. The National Weather Service reported 4.5 inches of snow in Mercer County in western Pennsylvania. Hi, Birnes, hope you've dug out and got power. And 3 inches in Berks County in eastern Pennsylvania. In Philadelphia, 2 to 3 inches were reported. The storm brought thunder snow, an area of heavy snow with embedded thunder. Now, does that mean there's thunder in each flake? That'd be kind of cool. Each little snowflake would have a little thunderclap in it. From near downtown Pittsburgh to Dubois, forecasters said moderate to heavy snow would follow with snowfall rates over 1 inch an hour. The storm led the Pennsylvania Turnpike officials to reduce speed to 45 along the 360-mile highway system. I didn't know it was that big, even though I've gone down the Turnpike many a times as a child with my parents. State transportation officials followed suit on some interstates and other roads. Last week, a series of crashes on the Turnpike outside Philly injured 30 people and left cars stranded for miles at a time and for hours. In New Jersey, officials hoping to clear up roads were hoping a large barge with 40 tons of salt would arrive from Maine, but blocked by Homeland Security. Now, what the hell does Homeland Security have to do with salt? Officials could not get clearance delivery since the vessel was not flying the American flag. Oh my God. You got to have American salt now to clear the roads. New Jersey is suffering from a salt shortage. It must be that guy DeBazio in New York and Bloomberg for it. Maybe they bought up all the salt from all the restaurants, and that's why they can't find any salt. In Connecticut, authorities are trying to make roads safer by cracking down on drivers who have not removed snow and ice from their vehicles. And 230 tickets have been issued since the ice missile law went into effect. Snow and ice can break off in vehicles and hit others. Forecasters predicted many East Coast states would see 3 to 6 inches of snow on Tuesday, which was yesterday, after the storm moved in from the Great Lakes and through the Mid-Atlantic. Some areas were getting rain, a sleet or a snow rain mixture. And they say it's short duration. Coastal areas in Maine and Massachusetts saw blizzard conditions with more than a foot of snow last Saturday. Thousands on Cape Cod were left without power. Maine had been expected to get 4 to 8 inches of snow on Tuesday. Boston 1 to 3 inches. Worcester was supposed to get 6 to 8 inches. Several inches of snow fell across the Great Lakes, causing the 2 airports in Chicago to cancel more than 1,000 flights. In Michigan, crashes closed portion of the Interstate 96 in Grand Rapids and the Muskegon area saw whiteout conditions. Last week, 1.2 million utility customers lost power as the storm marched from the south throughout the northeast. Schools, businesses, and government offices closed. The storm was blamed for 25 deaths from Texas to Maine. So it's still pretty bad back east. I hope people can dig out and don't lose their lives because of the storm. And, oh, here's another story. I don't know if I told this or not. Oh, yeah, I did tell about the elephant lady. Okay. One more here. Nope, got that too. Oh, yeah, here's a story from Coatesville. I think it's in Pennsylvania. Capturing the hearts of onlookers. Yeah, Pennsylvania. The 15-foot snowman in a parking lot of Weaver's Mulch Company. Now, I'm not even sure in Coatesville. I'm not sure what mulch is. We built it with our loaders. We got the idea when some of the workers talked about it. We created a huge snow pile with the loaders and carved it out using the loaders and rakes and shovels and stuff. And they made a male and a female snowman. Well, what they did the night before Valentine's Day, the snowman married the girl snowman. We turned the original snowman into the lady. I broke the hat off and put a scarf on. Then I went beside it and built the bigger one, creating a new one up against the original one. He used a truck tire and a wooden spool for the top hat, 5-gallon bucket lids for the eyes, and cones for the noses. Weaver said he's done building snowmen and snowwomen. He's happy the giant creations have been brought joy to residents growing weary of the winter. A lot of people stop and take pictures. People are tired of the snow, and it puts a smile on their faces. Well, that's kind of a nice story for a change. Frosty getting his wife. And this one got me. This has been all over the place. I don't know who came up with this thing that I got to have a fish car. That my Floppy the goldfish has to drive a car. Maybe he's going down to 7-Eleven to get a sandwich for Noory. I don't know. The fish car is autonomous. A perplexing new animal has been invented to give goldfish the opportunity to go for a drive. Do you have to go to the DMV and get a license for your goldfish, or does it get a learner's permit? Or would that be a swimmer's permit? The bizarre contraption is a fish tank on wheels with a computerized steering mechanism that uses a digital camera to record where the fish is located and what direction it is swimming. By processing the data, the system is able to move the vehicle to match the position of the fish so the unwary occupant is driving itself around. The Fish on Wheels device is the brainchild of a company called Studio Dip. D-I-I-P, or DLIP, I can't read that, and is designed to encourage the development of enhancements in pet mobility. So what's next? Fluffy cat driving a Maserati through your living room? I don't know. That's some weird stuff, though, the fish car. Well, I guess that's it. I'll catch you next time. Have fun, stay warm, and I'll talk to you with the next video. Bye-bye.